goodness, that is so good. I'm telling you, this pork is life-changing. So we're going to start off with our pork belly. Now, when you're buying your pork belly, I like to look for one that has a really decent amount of meat, not too fatty. You do need that little bit of layer of fat there and then a nice soft skin on the top. So the first thing you want to do is score the skin of your pork belly. Now, if you've got really sharp knives at home, that's great, use those. I find that sometimes at home though, knives tend to be a little bit dull. So get yourself a Stanley knife from a hardware store. They're always super sharp. And I'm just gonna make some straight lines across that pork belly skin. I'm using a tray as a sort of a little guide so I can get some straight lines. And you just want to score that skin 1 centimeter intervals. Okay, so once we've done that, we're going to get some salt onto our pork skin. So the salt's going to do two things. It's going to add some great flavor, but it's also going to help draw the moisture out of the skin, because the more moisture we can draw out of the skin, the crispier it will be in the oven. Just a little bit of salt on the other side. And then you want to leave this in your refrigerator uncovered for at least a couple of hours overnight would be great. And that's also going to help draw that moisture out of that pork skin. Okay, so now that the pork's had that time in the fridge, let's take a look. And you can see the top of that pork, there's quite a bit of moisture there that's come out of the skin. Perfect. I'm just going to wipe that off. So whenever you're looking to get something crispy and crunchy, just remember moisture is your enemy. We want to make this as dry as possible. Rub a little bit of oil onto the top and then just a little bit more salt because I wiped off most of that salt from before. Now this next step might seem a little weird, but trust me, this is the secret technique that's going to give you that amazing crackling. So I'm going to flip that pork into the roasting tin so that the skin of the pork is sitting on the bottom of the roasting tin. And then you want some baking paper on top. And then you just want to weight that down with another heavy dish, oven proof, and that's going to keep the skin flat on the bottom of the pan and get everything nice and crispy. And that goes into the oven for about an hour. And then take off the pan, take off the baking paper, turn the pork over and give it 10 minutes skin side up. Can you hear that? Oh my goodness, that is so good. I'm telling you, this pork is life-changing. Okay, so let's get that sliced up. And now you can see, just by doing those few extra steps, we've got that beautiful, crispy skin, and the fat underneath there has all rendered out. So we've got no big chunks of fat, just beautiful crunchiness.
Sticky, sweet, tangy. Yes, my friends, it is sweet and sour pork, but not as you know. This is my sweet and sour pork belly with pineapple slaw. All right, so how many ways can you sweet and sour pork belly? Well, let's add one more way because this is a really good way. The pork belly ends up all tender and soft, and then you have this like really cool, tangy coleslaw at the end. It's great, it's good. Let's do it. Now, first up, not all pork belly is created equal. So when you're in the supermarket, just have a look at what you're buying because you can get some pieces that are really fatty without like a really good layer of meat and some pieces that are all meat, no fat. What you want is kind of like a nice, you know, kind of in between that. Nice layer of fat, nice layers of meat. So keep an eye out for that before you even get started. Now, I am going to add in here some soy sauce, a little dash of fish sauce, and a little sprinkling here of some finely sliced ginger. Now into a hot pan, I'm going to pour in a little bit of oil. Now add in the pork belly. Just let that pork sizzle away for a little while. I do want to develop some nice golden, like caramelized edges on these pieces because all of that lovely browning is of course lovely flavor. What's that chemical reaction called, Dax, when you get the browning? Pop quiz! It's 4:30 in the afternoon.
Don't ask me hard questions.
You've heard this one before.
I know, it's just 4:30 in the hour.
Did you not have your 3 p.m. coffee today?
No.
It's called the Maillard reaction, Dax.
Maillard, that's right.
Maillard, that old chestnut.
That old chestnut.
Where the proteins and the amino acids, like, you know, get all hot and, you know, tasty.
It's very exciting.
It's very exciting, isn't it? Okay, when you've got some nice colour, turn that pork over, get it all brown and lovely on all the sides. And once everything's looking like this, you've got a little bit of colour going on, then you can go in with some sauce. Now, I'm using my own Marion's Kitchen Thai sweet and sour sauce because I love it and I made it. You can grab this one at Coles if you are in Australia. If you are not, don't worry. I'm going to put a made from scratch recipe on my website for you guys because, you know, I don't want you to miss out, even if you can't get a hold of my sauces. So there you go. Head there for the recipe. Anyway, add your chosen sauce and then pop a lid on, turn the heat down low, and then let that gently simmer away for about 90 minutes. And when we come back, the pork should be lovely and tender. So in the meantime, we're gonna make a really cool pineapple slaw. Now, I'm actually using green pineapple, so it's like a green pineapple slaw, which I think is a really great solution for like all year round when pineapples are not in season, or if you get a pineapple home from the fruit shop and it's kind of not quite as sweet as you would like it, you can turn it into this slaw. I have my finely sliced pineapple and some red Asian shallots and some coriander here too. Now, if you don't like coriander, mint is a really great substitute here.
Is it though?
It is. Funnily enough, Dax, for this, it is quite a good substitute. So to this, I'm going to add some finely sliced cabbage, and then we're going to go in with some lime juice and some salt. Let's give that a mix. Let's come back and have a look at this pork. Ooh, very nice. Okay, so all we need to do here, I think, is just give this a little bit of time with the lid off, like maybe just like 10 minutes here for that sauce to really kind of thicken up a little bit. All right, so we're ready to go. This is how I would do it. I would grab a hold of some of my slaw and then pile up this pork belly into a bowl. Do a whole lot of that drizzling kind of business, which looks really great when Dax gets in there close on the macro. Now this is the kind of situation that I love. So we have sweet, rich pork belly, this beautiful like tangy, tart, green pineapple slaw, and I just know this is going to be delightful. I mean, have a look at this pork belly and what I call the fork test. It's like, oh, so soft. I mean, look at that. It's just pork jelly. Yum.
What you call the fork test?
It's the fork test.
You really come up with a better name than that. Didn't put too much thought into that. But I call the fork test.
There's a fork and there's a test. All right, Dax, smart ass, you come up with a better name for that. You didn't even know what the Maillard reaction was. Let me get in here and try this. I mean, it's everything that you want sweet and sour pork to be doing, but like even more, because the pork belly is so soft and tender, and then some of this slaw. So good, delicious, yum. The most incredible sticky pork, all sandwiched in with a fluffy bao bun. These are my red braised pork bao buns. You want to be making this for the people you love. Nothing says I love you like a bao bun. All right, so I'm not gonna lie, my friends, this is going to be a bit of a process. Not a hard process, but it will require a little bit of patience. It'll be worth it in the end though, I totally promise. Let's get going on making our red braised pork belly first of all. Now, I just need some soy sauce, and you want some dark sweet soy sauce as well. So this is gonna give us a really beautiful, deep, dark color, which is the kind of characteristic of red braising, called red braising, but it's kind of a dark mahogany, if you like. And then I want some brown sugar
And a few spices here. So I've got some cinnamon sticks, some fennel seeds, and some star anise as well. And now for some fresh aromatics, I want some spring onion and some ginger. Now just give that a bit of a mix and get that heating up so that sugar starts to dissolve in that sauce. Now let's talk pork belly. So when you're going to buy a pork belly, try and get a nice hefty piece and make sure you don't have too much fat. Not all pork belly pieces are the same. I like to get one with nice layers of meat in there. Actually, in Thai we call this mu sam chan, which is translated as 3 levels. So you kind of get the levels of meat and fat. A little bit of knowledge you didn't need to know, but there you go. Now, if I have a look at my pork belly and my dish that I've chosen here, you don't want a really large roasting tray because you're gonna have to add too much water to kind of get some coverage on the meat. But if I see here, it's not quite gonna fit in as it is. So I'm going to just slice that in half. 2 pieces will make it easier to kind of squish in there. And also it means that we've got more surface area for that braising liquid to kind of work its magic. Now I've got some bubbles happening here and I'm gonna pop my pork in. Let's see how we go with space. Now add in some water and I want enough so that my pork belly is gonna be covered when I put a bit of a weight on it. Let's have a look. Just turn these pieces over. A little bit more water. Now I want to pop some baking paper on top of this first of all. Now to press that pork down, make sure it's submerged in that liquid while it's cooking. I'm just going to put a kind of bunch of foil on top, and when I put the lid on, that foil and the pressure of the lid is going to keep that pork under the braising liquid. Now traditionally Chinese red braising happens on the stovetop, but I find with low and slow, long stovetop cooking, you're kind of, coming back all the time, gets too hot, it's not hot enough, all that kind of stuff. I just like to pop it in the oven. It's just easier. All right, so you want to give this about 2 hours for that pork to get really soft and tender. Okay, so this is smelling incredible. All those beautiful spices and aromatics. Yum, just filling my kitchen with so much joy. Now I did turn the pork over a couple of times just to make sure we get a really beautiful even color. And let's see how we've gone. Oh, look at that. See, that's the color that I'm talking about with traditional Chinese red braising. It's a deep, dark mahogany. Looks so appetizing already. So let's get these guys out onto a tray. Now they're not quite done yet. I'm going to strain off this braising liquid and then pour that flavor packed liquid straight back over the top of the pork. And now I want to let this sit in the fridge overnight. 1, because it's going to soak up even more flavor, and 2, because I want that pork belly to firm up a little bit so I can slice it before grilling. Now just put some baking paper on top of there, and then I'm going to weight this down because that way I'm going to get a really nice firm pressed piece of pork. All right, now into the fridge. Okay, so here we are. Pork has had its time in the fridge. Let's do the big reveal. Still such a beautiful color. Now what we want to do here is clean up some of the fat that's solidified at the top here. Now take out that pork belly, save that for a bit later. Now this liquid is like pure gold, flavor gold that is. I'm gonna strain it off. Now this is a master stock that you can use for so many different things. Pop it into the freezer, you can use it to braise another cut of meat, braise some chicken, add to noodle soups. Wow, so many different ways to use it. Do not waste it. I only need a cupful to finish off my buns here. And I want to let that sauce simmer away until it's really glossy and thickened a little bit. Right, now let's take a look at the rest of our bits and pieces. I've got some of my fluffy homemade bao buns here. So go and check out the video on my YouTube channel or on my Facebook channel. The recipe's on my website as well. They're so incredibly easy to make at home, I promise. So give them a try. Now you can also buy store-bought ones, of course. We also need here a spicy mayo because it's me and I like things spicy. So I'm going to add in some of my coconut sriracha. You could use any kind of hot sauce that you love at home and just mix that in with some mayonnaise. And then let's get going on our pork. So take one of your pieces. Now this pork is actually really super soft and tender, so it's great that it's been refrigerated because it's going to make it easier to slice. Otherwise it would just melt away. So I want a fairly generous piece of pork here. Now this is a great idea for when you've got people over because you can do all of this in advance. You can get your pork sliced up, your sauce done, bao buns made, and then at the last minute all you need to do is sear off your pork belly. And this is the fun part. So once the pork's had a couple of minutes on that first side, let's turn the pieces over, and you need to be gentle here because, as I said, that pork is uber tender, very soft. Oh, look at that beautiful color, and it's just about to get even better. Take some of that reduced sauce and drizzle that over the top. Now give these guys another couple of minutes here. I really want the sauce and the pork and the heat to work its magic. All right, so that pork, check it out. I mean, it's like its own little work of art in there. Ah, oh, it's almost too good to disturb, almost. All right, let's get our bun together. Now open up your bun here, add some of the spicy sauce, and now just some finely shredded cabbage. We want a little bit of crunch and freshness here. And then of course you want a piece of pork. Now a smattering of spring onion and some crushed roasted peanuts. And there you go. You can pile those up, or you can serve the pork and the bao buns and everything so everyone can help themselves. Don't forget to add a little bit of extra spicy sauce here at the end, just because, you know, everyone needs some extra spicy. Let me pick out the perfect specimen. Who am I kidding? They all look perfect. All right, let's see how we've gone. That is incredible. That super soft pork is sticky and sweet and fragrant. And that spicy cut through at the end is so perfect. You want to be making this for the people you love. Nothing says I love you like a bao bun. Whoa, check out that action in the wok. I love cooking this dish. It's super spicy, beautiful basil flavors, and some crispy deep fried pork. What could be better? Okay guys, so you saw this one on Instagram when I went to a restaurant and I ate it recently, and you all wanted the recipe, and so here it is. I'm here to make it for you. But I've got a couple of tips for making this at home. The restaurant version would take a lot longer. So first of all, let's talk about the pork. We are gonna deep fry some pork belly. Pork belly buying tips. Okay, so try and find a pork belly that has a lot of meat, not too much fat, and it usually comes with the skin on. So for this dish, if we were gonna make it restaurant style, we'd make what's called mul grob in Thai, and we would have really crispy pork skin, but that can take days, to be honest, to prepare all of that. We're gonna do a super quick version without the skin. It's still gonna be yummy and crispy, just not with the skin, because the skin gets really tough with this quick cooking method we're gonna do. So first of all, I need to remove the skin. I'm gonna cut the pork belly into slices. That's gonna make it a bit easier. And now we just wanna make our first slice just underneath the skin here and a couple of centimeters in, basically creating like a little handle. Now we flip the pork over and rest your knife in between the skin and the meat. Now hold the knife steady and wiggle the skin, and then the skin just comes right off. And now that we've got our nice strips of pork, what we want to do is cut it into some slices. Around about a centimeter thick is pretty good. And now we need to generously season our pork. Give it some love with a little bit of salt and some white pepper, ground white pepper. You could use ground black pepper as well. And get your hands right in there and massage that seasoning into all the little pieces. Now, a lot of people think of pork belly as something that needs to be either slow cooked or roasted. We are gonna do a double cook method today, which is very quick. So a quick deep fry and then a quick stir fry, and you'll see that the pork becomes really crispy, but it's still really tender. And now I just want a little light dusting with some flour. Now just grab a hold of a few pieces of pork and drop that into some hot oil. Why is deep frying things so satisfying? Now you want to do this in batches. Don't want to overcrowd the pan because that makes the oil temperature drop, which means that you don't get the crispy texture that you're after. Smooth these guys around a little bit, make sure they're all cooking nice and evenly. Now, when that pork is a nice light blonde color, just scoop it out, drain it on some paper towel. Now you can see we've got a really nice light crispy crust on the outside of that pork, and that is going to stick to all the flavor and the chilies and the herbs when we go to do the stir frying. Now we need to do the spicy part. So if you have a look here, I have some different types of chilies here. I have some really spicy little ones and some larger mild ones. So the small ones here in Thailand we call pekinu, and you could use bird's eye chilies or any other chilies that are really spicy in your area. And this is what's going to give us the heat. And then I want some of these larger chilies, the mild ones, more for a bit of color and a little bit of flavor as well. And then I just want some rough slices of those. Now some garlic. And a little dash of salt as well. Help us to break down the fibers in there and add a little bit of flavor. And here we go. Now I just want like a rough kind of paste. I want the garlic bruised, I want the chilies bruised, but nothing too fine dining here, just a little rough. Now this is the kind of thing you're looking for. Chili, nice and chunky, garlic, very smooth. That's the situation you're after. And now an uber simple stir fry sauce is all we need. So a little bit of oyster sauce here and some fish sauce. And a little bit of sugar for sweetness. Just give that a mix. Finally, the ingredient that really gives this dish the biggest character, and that is what's called hot basil, or in Thailand we call it bai krapao. It's also known as spicy basil as well, and it has this really beautiful fragrance. You can tell it's a little bit different to regular basil. It kind of has slightly furry leaves and a little jagged edge. If you have a Thai or an Asian grocer that sells this near you, or you want to grow it, even better, it is a magical ingredient, let me tell you. I know not all of you will be able to get a hold of this, so what I would suggest is using either Thai basil or even some Italian basil. The key is that you want a lot of it. You should really get a nice hit of basil flavor when you eat this dish. Time for some wok action. When your wok is nice and hot, add some oil, and then be a little careful of the chili fumes because they're about to get hectic. Oh, that's so good. Okay, in goes the pork. And the stir fry sauce. It's definitely like a sinus clearing dish, this one. And then the basil. Oh, I wish you guys could smell this right now. So amazing. And just once that basil is just wilted, ready to go. Okay, serve that up in all its spicy glory. And there you have it, guys, my home version of crispy pork in a Thai basil and chili stir fry. So good. Sweet, sticky pork braised in Asian spices. Ah, this is one ultra comforting dish. This is my Taiwanese braised pork. All right, so there's just
something about sticky soy braised pork that melts the heart of every Asian I know anyway. And I'm usually making a Thai version, but today I'm making a Taiwanese version, which I'm super excited about. Let's get going on the pork first of all. So just a little chit chat about the pork. I'm using pork belly, and what you want are some really nice cute little cubes of pork belly. We want really small little bites here, and skin on is fine as well. So when you're buying pork belly, I think just make sure you're not getting a piece that's too fatty. I mean, we like fat, but not, you know, we need some meat in there as well. Anyway, let's get into the pan with a little bit of oil first of all. So now we're just going to seal off the pork, so add that into the pan. So we're just going to give that pork a few minutes in here just to start to get some colour on it. And in the meantime, I'm going to grind up some Szechuan peppercorns. So these guys add such a great, like, not only flavour, but also kind of like a tingling, numbing sensation as well. If you haven't tried out Szechuan peppercorns, I highly recommend ordering some. Just get them online, get them sent to you, you know, really easy. I always have them in my pantry. There's something a little special. So I'm just going to grind these up. Oh wow, so already I'm getting that beautiful sort of high citrusy note. That's the kind of aroma and fragrance that you get from Szechuan peppercorns. Look, if you can't get a hold of these, just throw in some black peppercorns. Totally fine, but yeah, try and find them if you can. And just a rough kind of crushing here is all we need, and we get that straight into our pork. Now, I'm also going to add in some garlic and some finely chopped shallots. And just let the garlic and the shallots kind of soften up a little in there. And now let's go in with some more aromatics here. I've got some star anise, some cinnamon and some bay leaves, and a few slices of fresh ginger. These are all like classic Asian comfort food fragrances and aromas and spices, and all of these things just bring me so much joy. I hope they make you happy too. All right, so now to build our braising liquid, we want some soy sauce, and you want some sweet dark soy sauce as well. So I'm using ketchup manis today, which is an Indonesian version, but you know, just a regular Chinese dark soy sauce is fine as well. Just this thicker, sweeter version adds a little bit more sweetness. And some Chinese cooking wine as well. So Shaoxing wine adds a really beautiful fragrance and aroma to dishes like this, but obviously if you want to keep your dish alcohol free, leave it out. Just add like a little bit of apple juice or pineapple juice for a bit more interest and sweetness. And now some brown sugar as well. Just mix that through. Now top that up with a little bit of water, and then bring this up to a gentle simmer and let it cook away for about an hour until that pork is broken down, is really sticky and tender and yummy. So about 20 minutes before that pork is done, I'm going to pour some hot water on some dried shiitake mushrooms just to rehydrate them. They just need about 20 minutes. All right, these mushrooms are looking nice and tender. I'm just gonna cut them in half, and then just wanna cut that stem out because it always stays really kind of tough and chewy. All right, now our pork is smelling so amazing. Oh, I just love that comforting, like, you know, cinnamon, star anise smell. Oh, so good. All right, now pop those mushrooms in there. And now I've just got some hard-boiled eggs. They're 8-minute eggs, and I'm going to pop those in there as well. And now just gently kind of get those eggs coated. And I want to give this another like 10 minutes or so, just so I've got some nice colour on those eggs. All right guys, we are looking so good here. Check that pork out, sticky, glossy, amazing. Braised pork like this never fails to make me happy. Okay, so we want a nice spoonful of this onto some rice, or a few spoonfuls. And then grab an egg, slice that in half. Now, egg goes on. And then I've just got some lightly blanched bok choy here, a little bit of greenery goes well here. There you go guys, sticky, sweet braised pork. Oh, I am going to enjoy this one. That pork just melts, completely melts. Amazing. And that beautiful star anise flavor and the sweet soy and just that hint of the Szechuan peppercorns in the background there. Oh, the whole thing, so good. Ultimate comfort food. I just need a doona, couch, me, this bowl, heaven.